Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Appreciate the crowd goes wild. Thank you. So before I get into it, I have 3 questions to ask of you. 1, do you want to have more fun in your life? If that's you, put a yes in the chat, give me a wave, give me a wink, let me know that that's something that you want to do. Okay. Would you like to have less stress in your life? Again, give me a wink, give me a wave, give me a yes. Okay, and would you like to have peace of mind? Would you like to have inner peace? Is that something that would work for you? So imagine waking up every morning, excited about the day ahead, knowing that your life is a journey on a path that is completely in alignment with who you are at your core. Would that be something you'd want to know, want to feel? Well, welcome. I'm Krys Pappius. As Coach Leah said, I'm an empowerment coach. And in our time together, I'm going to show you how you can get all of that and more. But first of all, I want to acknowledge you for being here today, because if there's something more that you want out of life, you have a choice. You can either do whatever it takes, like coming to a seminar like this, or you can live with the biggest pain of all, which is the pain of regret. So I want to acknowledge you for making the effort to be here today. I also want to really acknowledge Coach Lee for creating this event. I know what it takes to put an event like this together. It's a lot of work. So thank you for bringing us together, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. Now, more important than what I do is why I do what I do. So I have 4 core beliefs. I believe we all have a purpose in life. I believe that purpose is to share our unique gift with the world for the betterment of all. I believe we have a depth of strength and wisdom beyond our wildest imagination. I believe we have the right to feel alive and engaged in everything we do in life. And I believe that we have the right to have the confidence to know that we can deal with whatever life throws our way, and life will throw things our way. So given that we're going to be spending some time together, is it okay if I tell you a little bit about myself and how I came to be here? Okay. So, today my life is really good. I have a very clear purpose. My purpose is to make people feel seen, heard, and valued, that they matter and that their life matters. And my decision-making is really simple. What's in alignment with that is a heck yes, and what's not in alignment is a heck no. I do work that I love, that it's fulfilling and it's fun. I live in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, which means I'm a stone's throw away from my happy place. Put me on a trail, on a mountain, any mountain, and I'm happy. And I have unfettered access to the mountains of southwestern British Columbia and northern Washington State. I'm in my happy place a lot. However, the truth is that it wasn't always like that. If you had known me back in the early 2000s, you would have said that I had it all. I was successful. I was in my 10th year in my career in law enforcement, and there was evidence that I was good at what I was doing. Prosecutors would tell me they liked seeing my files on their desk because they knew it would be a complete narrative, very little follow-up required. I had no debt. I owned my car, my house. I had a steady, well-paying job. I traveled. It all looked really good. People told me, wow, you've made it. But the truth was that it looked great on the outside, but it was a mask, because on the inside, my soul was slowly dying. I was a stressed out, overwhelmed people pleaser. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't know who that person was that was looking back at me. I forgot who I was. I forgot what I wanted in life. But what I did know was I didn't like who I'd become. And I didn't like the empty and unfulfilling life that I was living. And it all came to a head in the fall of 2003. I had 2 critical incidents at work. The second one, yes, it was a massive car crash. And it was one of those crashes that was quite violent, but my car remained in motion for some time. So I had time to process what was going on. And I saw my life for what it was: unfulfilling, empty. And I vowed to myself that if I survived, I was going to make life worth living again. I was going to find fulfillment. I was going to be happy. I was going to actually do something that I felt had value. Clearly, I survived because I'm here. That, as a result of that event, I was off work for 15 months. I had some significant physical and psychological injuries. And you know what? It was a really dark time. I was very much alone. I felt very isolated. It was a very sad time. And it was the best thing that happened to me. Because, as I said, I had to own the fact that if I was going to turn life around, if I was going to make life worth living, it was up to me to do it. And so I embarked on this journey. And the first thing I did was I decided I was going to start having fun again. Anybody here want to have fun in life, right? You said you did. I was going to have fun. That was going to solve my problem. Fun to me was traveling around the world, adventures in the Himalayas, in Rwanda, you name it, I traveled. And I discovered a pattern. And the pattern was that I would be this person who was alive and engaged in having fun and loved life. And the moment my journey started to bring me home, that darkness would take hold of me again. And by the time I was at home, the darkness had fully taken hold of me. And I realized that the real question was how to become that person that I was, alive and engaged and loving life. How can I bring that person into my everyday living? And that really started on the journey of looking inward, not seeking fulfillment outward, looking inward. Who was I and what was important? Along that journey, I learned a lot of things, and I'm going to be sharing 3 of those things with you today. But what I know is along that journey, I learned the key to turning life around, from being empty and unfulfilling to living the life that I love. I will also say that because I believed that I had to do this alone, type A personality, can't ask for help, sign of weakness, it was 10 years before I left law enforcement and started living the life I wanted. Now, by sharing this with my clients, clearly they don't have to take 10 years. I've done all the hard work, the heavy lifting. So the first thing I learned about was this concept of empty success. Empty success is a condition where, although you've hit all the milestones, you've got the education, you've got the career, you've got the money, you've got the status, something is still missing. People look at you and they say what a great life you have, and some are even envious. But your truth is that this life you're living has failed to give you the personal satisfaction, the sense of fulfillment, or the joy that you expected it to give you. And the worst part is you can't share that with anybody because you've got it all. You've got all the trappings of success. Who are you to complain? And what shocked me was not only that empty success is a thing, what shocked me was that empty success was so prevalent. Now, why do we get there? Well, the number one reason, in my opinion, is that from the moment of our birth, we get messages from the people around us, what our value is, what we're capable of, and they start setting expectations for us. And we internalize those by the time we're 4, 5, 6 years old, and they become our worldview. Those beliefs and expectations that others have imposed upon us, not ill-naturedly or anything, it's just the reality of being nurtured and conditioned by the people around you. They can only teach you what they know. But the result is you're living your life through the worldview of a 5-year-old. And you spend your life chasing other people's dreams and chasing success as defined by others. So when you reach that success, when you get all your trappings of success, they don't belong to you, because there's no connection between that success and what lights you up, your spark, what motivates you, and you can't enjoy it. Other contributing factors to empty success would be things like perfectionism, chasing a standard that you can never achieve because perfect doesn't exist. Who has heard perhaps the word imposter syndrome? Anybody know that? Hey, when I was in law enforcement, imposter syndrome, all the investigations looked good, but I kept waiting to get busted. They were going to find out the truth. And burnout is another reason. So the first thing I learned was about imposter syndrome. The second I learned was, what do we do to turn it around? And I took a lot of courses, I read books, I did all that, and I got a few golden nuggets here and there, but I also discovered that a lot of it was fluff, because they told you to dream big, but they never told you how. What do I need to do? And when I took the golden nuggets that I found and I looked at them, I realized that they would form a formula. And when I implemented the formula, it worked for me. I got the life that I wanted. And in case you don't realize it, I'm not special. It's the formula that's special. It's the formula that forms the basis of my coaching practice. So what is the formula? You is the first piece. Vision is the second piece. Action is the third piece. So let's take a quick look at these. You is all about self-mastery. It's about getting to know yourself so well that you choose your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, regardless of what's going on around you. It includes challenging the conditioning, challenging that worldview of the 5-year-old so that you take control back of your life. You're not a 5-year-old anymore. You're an adult, a competent adult. And self-mastery means that you show up as an adult. So what are the benefits? You become proactive. You carve out your life. You don't live life with knee-jerk reactions all the time. You take the time, you stop, you analyze, you choose your thoughts and your emotions. You are empowered because not only do you recognize what's holding you back, you learn the skills and the tools to overcome those. How do you learn the skills to reduce stress? You learn how to counteract your fear of getting busted. That's knowledge is power. There you reduce your stress. Stress is a physiological response to perceived problems, but when you have self-mastery, you realize what you perceive as problems is simply an emotional reaction to a perceived threat. When you can look at the threat for what it is, that emotion is neutralized. The stress reaction is neutralized, and you can now become a problem solver. And thirdly, you have inner peace. Part of self-mastery is getting to know your values and your purpose. And when you start living in alignment with your values and your purpose, that's the source of inner peace. Okay, so vision, what do I mean by vision? Vision means you have a clear picture of what you want across all aspects of your life that reflects your values and your purpose. When you have a vision that's based on your values and purpose, you have an emotional connection to it that keeps you propelled forward when things get rough. It's like your North Star. You know if your decisions are bringing you towards what you want or away from it. And you always know what your next step is. And more importantly, if something's not working in your life and you run away from it, you have no guarantee if where you're going to end up is going to be the same, better, or even worse. But when you have the vision that you're aiming for, when that's your target, you know what you can expect, and you have the wherewithal to adapt as you experience the journey, right? You can always tweak, but at least you know what you're aiming for. And finally, the third piece is action. Action is not leaping off a cliff. Action means setting your target, reverse engineer it to the smallest steps possible. When I was hiking up Mount Kilimanjaro, if I kept focusing, especially on the last day where the oxygen was low, if I kept focusing at the summit, I might have gotten discouraged. All I focused on was putting the toes of one boot ahead of the other. Tiny baby steps. Stop focusing on the end result. When you have baby steps, You're never overwhelmed. You know what your next step is, and you celebrate how far you've come. You can see it, and it keeps you propelled forward. So we've covered empty success. We've covered the formula on how you turn that around, you, your vision, and action. And the last thing I learned was that it is never too late to change. And that's supported by biology, and it's supported by psychology. How many here have heard the expression neuroplasticity? You heard that? Okay, that's the biology. Our brain is always able to create new neural pathways, absorb new information, absorb new habits. Neuroplasticity doesn't end at a certain age. It doesn't extinguish. You can always, always change your beliefs. The brain has the physical capacity to do that. And the psychology is everything you believe about who you are today and what is possible is simply stories you're telling yourself. Stories that you were taught as a child. This is what you're worth. This is what you're capable of. And every experience you've had since then has been interpreted through the eyes of that 5-year-old. But it's just stories. And if they're holding you back, then it's time to learn new stories. What is your truth? And as you develop self-mastery, you develop your truth. It's never too late. Our dreams are never out of reach. They're simply out of our mindset. And when Maya Angelou said, whatever you do to the best of your ability, but when you know better, you do better. You can always, always set goals and set goals that honor your values and your purpose, and a true evaluation of your opportunities and your skills and your abilities. And when all of those are taken into account, the sky's the limit. And the life you want is yours. So just to recap, the 3 most important lessons I learned was empty success is real. There's a valid reason for it. You're not alone. It is more widespread than we acknowledge because it's too shame-ridden. It's too embarrassing to admit. The formula for turning your life around is self-mastery, the you piece, the vision, and the action. And I will leave you with my favorite lesson of all is, it is never too late.